see. I mean, I can see well enough. There we go. See well enough to knock my glasses off the desk. Put my other glasses on. Gotta put my computer glasses on. There we go. No, this isn't a symptom of aging. There's plenty of young people with bad eyesight. I used to have perfect eyesight, thanks to the miracles of modern science. But those days are over. Oh, puppy hears me talking and says, "Ooh." Excuse me. But you're speaking. Look at that big like light ray. We got these God rays coming down. Alexa, lights out. Ah. How about that? There we go. That's not too bad. When I see you smile, I can face the world. Oh, you know I can do anything. When I see you smile, I can write power ballads and not invest the money I make from it wisely. Yeah. What we got going on here? Let's start with Philly. Philly boy.
You daily dive into the news. Billy, are you in the shot? Come here.
Leave Billy in the shot.
Come here, lazy. Come here. Come here. What are you doing?
That is awesome.
While my dog ignores me, you at least pay attention because we got a lot of news to talk about today.
You didn't give
so
belly
let's
rubs,
just jump
Phil.
into it. Starting with, we've got to talk about some heavily requested quickie news. Starting with the fact that until last night, I did not know you could murder the same person so many times. Because last night, it felt like Kendrick Lamar dug up Drake's body after killing him, then proceeded to beat the shit out of said dead body, bury him again, dig him up again, getting tens of thousands of people in person, including so many celebrities, and millions of people around the world to sing song Call Drake a Pedophile, then hit him from the top rope 5 times and bury him again. Like
I mean, if we're going to be talking about this, which I really don't care about it, then let's talk about a way more worthwhile rap beef, because Mac Lethal knocked Tom MacDonald's soul out of his body, burned the corpse, then salted the spirit. I mean, watch Supernatural and you know what I'm talking about there. Oh my God. Like, Tom MacDonald is just a pile of nerdy ash. Oh my God. He got murdered so hard, he hasn't even addressed it yet. Tom MacDonald just, like, even his fans should just stop talking to and about him. It's so bad. Mac Lethal left no trace. It's just, oh my God.
There have been times I thought, man, Phil, you're being a hater. No, I'm not. Kendrick Lamar has set the new standard. He should open up a college where you can get a degree in haterology. Because I have never seen something so impressively devastating in my 38
there. I just had to.
Years on this planet. Because last night's Kendrick Lamar concert in Los Angeles, which they called Pop Out, it was wild. I mean, there was a ton of stars there. You had Westbrook on stage dancing. He looked like he was having more fun than any time I've ever seen him ever. I mean, fucking Dr. Dre came out to introduce Not Like Us, which also Kendrick Lamar performed 5 times. He seemingly united the entire West Coast. Every shot from this thing was just electric. Even like there was just that part where he's like, wop, 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 wop. And the live camera cutting, it felt like the production crew was dancing. And all of this, of course, going down on Juneteenth with, of course, a number of the songs directed at Drake, a man who he said, we don't want you to say the N-word anymore. Though notably, Kendrick ended the show saying, it ain't got nothing to do with no back and forth records. It's got everything to do with this moment right here. That's what this shit was about, to bring all of us together. And then the other bit of quickie news involves Sabrina Carpenter. Right? Because, you know, when artists release tickets for their tours, there's a lot of different things going on. Right? Some people get early access to things, like I'm a season ticket holder at SoFi Stadium, so I get access to a lot of things. You know, then there's also things like, oh, you have a Cash App or American Express. You get early access tickets for this thing, that thing. But Sabrina Carpenter and Spotify just made a very interesting announcement, and that's that they're going to offer pre-sale offerings just for her top listeners. With Spotify saying at each of Sabrina's US shows, we've created a Spotify top listener pit for top fans, and saying those fans can purchase those tickets via an exclusive pre-sale code. Which on one hand, you have a lot of people excited about, going, oh my God, the best seats for the most dedicated. How exciting, and potentially a way to get around scalpers who are just scooping up the general public tickets. But then on the other side, you have people saying, okay, if all of this works as described,
I mean, that's
scalpers
true.
or wannabe scalpers are going to be auto-playing the fuck out of Sabrina Carpenter.
That's true.
Well, for her, as the artist, it kind of doesn't matter which of those scenarios plays
out. I mean, that is
true. It sounds like it's going to result in more plays.
I mean, both of those things are true. Like, for example, when you hear like people like Tom McDonald and all these other right-wing rappers bragging about, oh, I'm like #1 on the Apple iTunes charts. It's like it doesn't matter. Everybody knows that, like, it's like right-wing bot farms just like blowing it up, and actually like right-wing voters like turning themselves into human bot farms pretty much, and just like putting the songs on loop and just like leaving their radio on in the truck while they work all day. I mean, like, no shit. Like, I mean, that's what they're doing, and driving it. It's like, oh, we're #1 on Apple iTunes. Yeah. But like, it would be totally different if it actually measured unique plays and unique impressions. Then you would be nowhere near #1, because you're #1 because the same 100 people have your song on loop. Kind of like, well, it's not kind of like, it's exactly like how Fox News does we're the highest rated. Yeah, that's because you're paying to have televisions in waiting rooms all around the country left on your channel. I mean, you want any example, go to your gyms. Notice how, like, you know, like at least one of the televisions has to be on Fox. And that's the thing, like, Fox pays for that. Like, you know, they might not be paying your specific gym, but they do pay for that to happen, like, all around. And it's a thing that really happens. Like the Sinclair people actually do this whole thing. You have to put our stuff on. And the viewers demand it too. So you've got these waiting rooms, empty waiting rooms all around the country with Fox on. And then what happens is like the people who run the business, they'll have like other TVs in their place of business. So they'll go, just to be fair, just so they're not alienating the other folks, they'll put on the other news stations too. But, you know, that doesn't happen as often, because a lot of times those people are like, I really don't care. Put it on sports. Put it on TNT. Put it on A&E, you know. Put it on AMC, you know. But like, and then it'll have Fox. I mean, that's how they do it. It's inflated ratings
of her songs. It's going to be very interesting to see if this is a big win or a fail for the fans. Because if this is even remotely successful in...
Besides, it's also pathetic for a news organization to be bragging about, oh, we're the highest rated, because ratings are for entertainment. You know, so what they're literally doing, is they're bragging about being entertainment.
Boosting her streaming numbers, I mean, we could see something like this taking over the entire industry. And so I got to ask, do you think this is going to be a win or a fail, something in between? Let me know what you're thinking. And then...
Hi, I'm Jen. This is Cole.
I get the concept.
And the one behind it.
So like they said, that is Jennifer Kowalski and Cole McDonald, and they just spray painted the fuck out of a couple private jets.
But yeah, I mean, like, in theory, the concept is cool, but in practice, it's going to fail. And it's going to fail because Ticketmaster is what Ticketmaster is. Live Nation is what Live Nation is. They encourage scalping at the end of the day, no matter how much they claim they don't. Because scalping actually increases their base numbers because they scalp too. Like, seriously, like Ticketmaster and Live Nation, I mean, they essentially scalp their own tickets in a lot of instances. And it's through the fucking dynamic pricing and resells and shit like that. Because people will like buy a $50 ticket and then they won't be able to go, so they'll cancel it and they'll refund the ticket. But then Ticketmaster resells it under dynamic pricing for $100. So they literally just scalped their own fucking tickets, and they're liars if they say they don't, because they do. I've seen it.
With a reported goal being to target Taylor Swift's plane specifically, because it had just landed in the UK for the next stop on her Eras World Tour. As far as how they got access, they actually cut a hole in the fence of the airfield to get in. And while these two were attempting to get Taylor Swift's jet, and we've actually seen a lot of people saying it was Taylor Swift's jet, it wasn't. Which is why when they couldn't find it, they instead painted two other jets using fire extinguishers filled with orange paint. And as far as why, it wasn't because they thought the Tortured Poets department was overrated, but rather because Taylor Swift, as far as celebrities with a big spotlight, has...
Okay. Some activists from the same group did this at Stonehenge. And I will say, because of their actions at Stonehenge, like, I honestly don't give a shit about this activist group anymore. Like, I wish all the ill in the world on them because they're misguided. They don't care about the climate so much as they care about going viral and getting attention. They're actually using the climate as an excuse for their childish, like, social media escapades. I mean, you want to get a message out. You don't fuck up Stonehenge. I mean, you just shot yourselves in the foot. I mean, in that moment, I was like, okay, I see what these scumbags are about. Their concern for the climate and the environment is bullshit. They're just engaging in antics for attention is all it is, and stopped caring about you. So congrats, because millions of other people did the same. That's how genius you are.
The biggest one related to having a big carbon footprint. This was meant to be a protest both of private jets, but also more generally the people and companies responsible for climate change. With McDonald's saying we're living in two worlds. One where billionaires live in luxury, able to fly in private jets away from the other, where unlivable conditions are being imposed on countless millions. And with that, they demanded that the UK's next government commit to working with other countries on an equitable plan to end the extraction and burning of oil, gas, and coal by 2030. Because all of this was part of the work of the now infamous British environmental activist group, Stop Oil. Right, a group that you've seen pop up in the news here and there, and I mean, even yesterday. With them almost always getting a good amount of attention, but also they've received a lot of criticism. Their methods have been controversial, people calling it disrespectful.
See, this right here. This right here. This tells us what your group is really about: sensationalism. You don't care about the environment. You don't care about the climate. You care about sensationalism and attention and going viral. You're a bunch of dirtbag toddlers, and I wish all the bad in the world on all of you.
Performative and at the very least ineffective, which is also why the response to the stunt with the private jets is kind of interesting. Because while there's still been a lot of hate, there's also been a lot of people saying that unlike throwing soup jets is kind of interesting. Because while there's still been
Exactly. Exactly. Isn't that what I just said?
Been a lot of hate. There's also been a lot of people saying
exactly.
that unlike throwing soup at art or vandalizing it, still been a lot of hate. There's also been a lot of people saying that unlike throwing soup,
private jet is a much better target than Stonehenge to get public support. If I were your PR guy, I'd advise you to apologize for knowing you stick to targets of this, not considering the criminal part of all this, of course. Exactly. But that's the thing. I don't care. I don't care. At this point, because it's been so many days and there's been no response, no. I'm not accepting any apologies from this group of childish, sensationalistic, needy, attention-seeking dirtbags. They don't care. Their message is fake. What they want is attention. That's why they're doing what they're doing. So any apology now would be meaningless because at this point, they're not sorry for what they did. They're sorry that they didn't get the reaction they wanted. So yeah, I don't care. I really don't care. I wish all the bad in the world on them. I hope everything they do blows up in their face from this point on. I hope they get. I hope people start spray painting them. I hope people start showing up and spray painting them is what I hope. And when they throw soup, I hope people throw soup back at them. And when they pull out their hammers, I hope the people around them pull out hammers too. That's how I want this group treated at every turn moving forward.
at art or vandalizing a national monument, this is something they can actually get behind. And one like throwing soup at art or vandalizing.
So it brings from the right places. It also doesn't hurt the public or take people seriously.
Exactly. A monument. This is something they can actually get behind. And one such person.
Leave art and history alone and bully the actual mega polluters. Go for Kim Kardashian jet next and make sure to spray paint the inside too. So you need the face consequences. Exactly. Exactly.
Person writing this, I can't feel bad about. Leave art and history alone and bully the actual mega polluters.
Exactly.
Go for Kim Kardashian's jet next and make sure to spray paint the inside too. And another person saying, better. An image of a climate protester standing in front of a private jet. I get it instantly. Good communication. Standing in front of the Mona Lisa or Stonehenge. Remind me again of your convoluted metaphor. Terrible communication. And part of the rationale behind targeting a private jet is that, a person flying private emits 10 to 20 times as many emissions as a commercial airline passenger. Well, it's still a relatively small percentage of overall global emissions.
Actually,
it's just one example. Now behind target Stonehenge. Remind me again in front of a private to spray paint the inside too alone and bully the actual mega.
I wish there was something here.
Art or vandalizing a national. Leave art and history alone and bully the actual Go for Kim Kardashian's jet next and make sure to spray paint the inside too. And another person saying, better. An image of a climate protester standing in front of a private jet. I get it instantly. Good communication. Standing in front of the Mona Lisa or Stonehenge. Remind me again of your convoluted metaphor. Terrible communication. And part of the rationale behind targeting a private jet is that, a person flying private emits 10 to 20.
How's this? Here we go.
20 times as many emissions as a commercial airline passenger. While it's still a relatively small percentage of overall global emissions, it's just one example of the massively disproportionate environmental impact of the wealthy. And then, it is insanely hot right now for a lot of people, and we're already seeing it turn deadly. Because while a lot of headlines this week have been around the discourse of the UK heat wave, right? Some talking about the seriousness of it, others saying that's not real heat. Right now, if you look at Saudi Arabia, over 1,000 people on Hajj have died this year alone due to extreme heat waves. Which, if you don't know,
it's so stupid how society has been groomed to suckle brainlessly and mindlessly at the teats of capitalism. It's like, rather than addressing the fact that, wow, it's too damn hot and we need to do something about this, you have these morons who don't even have enough IQ points to decorate a domino going, oh, you think this is hot? Well, how about this hot? And it's like, how does a dick measuring contest over human suffering make any kind of point? I mean, and it's wild because these idiots really believe they have a point, and they really believe they're making a point when they say these things and act this way. And it's like, what broke in your brain? And it's grooming and indoctrination. It's grooming, conditioning, and indoctrination. And you'll notice that the people who do it also happen to be like really like evangelical and stuff. And that's what happens. Like, no joke. I mean, you know, ask the CIA, ask any psychologist, really. That's exactly how grooming and conditioning and the brainwashing and programming and all that stuff works. See, it starts with the religion. So you get forced into a church whether you want to or not, where all this stuff gets drilled into your head and you're told you're not allowed to question any of it. Well, so once you leave that and you go to the outside world, then any authoritative figure is going to hit you the same way. Oh, I have to do what this guy says. I have to believe everything he says, and I can't question it. And it's all because they got groomed for the church first. So they get groomed to not question things. It's fucked up.
No, the Hajj is a pilgrimage to Mecca. And the exact date of the pilgrimage depends on the lunar calendar. So this year, it unfortunately hit during the summer. You know, when that happens, there's always a risk because Mecca can get to like 110 degrees. But this year, it hasn't gone up to 110. It's gone up to 120, which isn't fucking normal at all. Also, I just gotta say, the difference between 110 and 120 degrees, it is infinitely different than 80 to 90 or even 90 to 100. But that also being important to note here that the average dry bulb temperature, which is...
Okay. For those like, and this is going to be wild. So here's what you do. If you want to know like why if you want to know why, and this is an experiment anyone can do at home. Like, seriously, anyone can do this at home. But like, show caution and be careful. If you want to know why the difference in these temperatures in these 10-degree increments is significant, from 70 to 80 to 90 to 100 to 110 to 120, I mean, it's really simple. I mean, well, for one, will you sleep in a house at 80 degrees? Will you sleep in a house at 70 degrees? You already said 70. You already said you would die if it was 80. So there you go. There's that. But now when you want to talk about the other significant ones, I mean, it's easiest to do it with like an electric range, especially one that has the actual temperature readout instead of low, medium, high. That is so stupid. There is nothing dumber in the cooking industry than low, medium, high. Give me temperatures. Give me temperature ranges. You go to a restaurant, those have the temperatures on them. But residential ones, low, medium, high, because someone's dumb. And like, a really dumb person assumes everyone else is dumb. And also, they don't want to admit to you that they're not bothering to uh, 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 they're not bothering to really follow through on quality control in calibrating their thermostats in residential cooking appliances, and that's a truth. It saves money that way. The industrial ones, you have to be. You'll lose money if you send out industrial ranges that only hit 400 when the readout says 450. You'll get sued. But in commercial appliances, low, medium, high, I never promised that medium was going to be in the 250 to 300 range. That's how they get away with it. They don't have to be accurate. That's why, you cook at your house, shit comes out different than cooking at your friend's house. And it'll even happen when you both have the same damn range. But in any case, if you got a good calibrated range, if you don't have one that has the temperature readout, then get you one of those little like infrared thermometers. And then what you do is you put it at 100. And just take something like water or a slice of bologna, a piece of meat or something. Throw it in that pan at 100 degrees. See what happens. Don't put your hand on it. I know if you were listening to my voice, you were thinking, he's going to say, put your hand on it. No, you'll burn yourself. But just, put something that has like an immediate response to heat. So put some water on there. See what happens. Leave it at 100 for like 10 minutes. Okay, now turn it up to 110. Leave it there. Watch what happens. Now turn it to 120. And see what happens. And what you will notice is that at 100, shit takes a long time. At 110, shit's still taking a long time. At 120, oh no, now we got to start watching this thing so it don't burn. I mean, we're talking about boiling points, people. Boiling points.
Is the temperature of the air not directly in the sun? According to Saudi officials, that's been rising.
Matter of fact, boiling point of water. At sea level, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, 212 Fahrenheit.
About 0.4 degrees Celsius per decade. While that may not sound like a lot, that quickly adds up, and it exacerbates times when there are heat waves to be even worse. Also, another issue facing the Hajj in particular is just the sheer number of people that are going and how many people do it
Hell, if you know about computers, just think about like your PC temps, your GPU temps, and your CPU temps. Think about those ranges and where you want them to be. And then think about Mecca being 120. And then think about that. So these motherfuckers are standing on these motherfuckers are standing on my processor when it's hitting like 20%. You know what I'm saying? My processor's running about like 123. So these fuckers are out there in that, and they don't have heat sinks or water cooling.
Officially. Because normally you're supposed to get an official permit with the Saudi government, which can be very pricey for many. So you have people still trying to make the pilgrimage and essentially just sneaking into the crowds. But a key thing with that permit is it gets you access to a lot of facilities, with many actually being life-saving because they're AC-cooled areas that are available for people after a day of walking and praying outside. And while heat-related problems during the Hajj is not new for Saudi officials, the sheer number of them...
I mean, alternatively, you could just accept that it's mythology and stop doing it. I mean, I get it. People like their rituals, but there has to be a practicality to your ritual.
them this year is a problem. Right? I mean, just on Sunday alone, 2,700 people were treated after suffering from heat exhaustion. And all this, of course, is Saudi Arabia is hardly the only place dealing with hotter and hotter summers. Right? The UK recently had a heat wave that was memed to death because it was 26 degrees, which is 79 degrees in American. Also, I feel like I gotta say this every time because it was 26 degrees, which is 79 degrees in American.
Today where I'm at, it hit 92. Well, no, actually, I think it got to higher than that. I was thinking about mowing, and I waited until it was about like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I decided not to mow because at 6 o'clock, it was 92 degrees outside. It's 10:45 now, and it's 81 degrees. No, wait, let me change that. Okay, 79 degrees. At 9, it was 81. But, 93. Yeah, 93. Because like I said, at 5 o'clock, it was 92 degrees. Well, it was after 5. It was almost 6, and it was still 92 degrees. So I was like, no, I'm not going to mow today. Grass ain't growing at 92 degrees anyway. Trust that. Not my mixture of crabgrass and fescue. That shit ain't growing at 93 degrees.
Also, I feel like I got to say this every time we talk about the UK. I know a lot of people laugh at the idea of like a 79-degree heat wave.
Oh, and I'm in Kentucky, in case a stranger is watching this at some point. But yeah, at 6 o'clock in the evening in Kentucky, it was 93 degrees.
But that area, they're just not historically
92.
used to that kind of heat. And 79 in an extremely humid environment without any AC or escape. Ugh, fuck that noise. And then, of course, there's what's happening.
Oh, and the great thing, keep in mind that like 5 days ago, like 5 days ago, it was like 60, 70 degrees outside. We were having like 50-degree nights.
Across America and Mexico, with a report by the World Weather Attribution, which is made up of climate scientists finding that heat waves across the region are 35 times more likely because of rising global temperatures, which as I'm recording, probably not hard to believe for a number of people watching because we're in the middle of one right now. You've got the East Coast right now hitting record temperatures. Although I also realize saying record temperature, it's like it doesn't have the impact it used to. It feels like, yeah, well, of course it's a new record. It's another year. These just happen now. Once in a lifetime event? What if I gave you 3 and 4 years? In total, you have 70 million Americans living under heat alerts right now, as pretty much every major city seeing triple-digit temperatures. I mean, in some places, it's become such a problem that city officials are looking at how to combat the deadly effects of constant heat. And one way is by looking to open up cold shelters, which would offer some kind of AC while it's hot outside. Right? It's kind of like what cold places do during the winter, so the unhoused or low-income populations don't freeze to death. So yeah, brace yourself for summer, especially because it does not seem like it's going to be getting any easier anytime soon. And then, quote, I have never felt healthier than the last 2 years, bro. End quote. That is genuinely what a good buddy of mine said when he first put me on to Armra Colostrum, right? I mean, he was nonstop about the amazing effects, so of course I had to give it a try. And so today, I just want to say I thank you not only to today's sponsor, Armra Colostrum, but also I want to thank my friend, because he was right. You know, colostrum is a dairy bioactive whole food produced by all mammals in the first 48 to 72 hours after giving birth, containing vital, powerful nutrients our bodies need to thrive. And Armra Colostrum is physician-founded and delivers the power of colostrum optimized for the human body. It's delivered in a digestible form of 400 plus functional nutrients like peptides, antibodies, and antioxidants that support your cells, gut, immune system, and so much more.
Stop saying colostrum and tell me what a colostrum is.
And I've noticed my immune system staying strong despite being around my germy kids. Also, before you're like, don't call them germy kids, My dad used to call me a carrier monkey. True story. He also called me his favorite accident. He's great with the nicknames. The main point with this, as an added bonus, I've also noticed leaner muscle mass, decreased muscle soreness, and overall quicker workout recovery. I just pour this into cold water or even
Well, that sounds
fill up your
cool.
health. QR code
I need to work out
and then
more.
we've got a wild problem in Missouri right now.
I could be
Because
working it
a new
right now.
Justice Department report revealed that Missouri's breaking federal law by unnecessarily putting thousands of adults with mental disabilities into nursing homes instead of actually providing them with the proper care they need. And according to the report, we're talking about 3,300 adults with mental health disabilities who spent at least 100 days in one of the state's nursing homes as of March 2023. Though that number also doesn't include people with Alzheimer's and dementia who may actually be able to benefit from specified care provided by those facilities. And with that, you have the DOJ finding that the average age was 53, which is unheard of. That's more than 20 years younger than the statewide average for all nursing home residents, which is 75. And I mean, hell, some of the adults placed in literal nursing homes were in their 20s and 30s. And beyond just their age, a majority of adults with mental disabilities who were placed in these facilities, they did not have the physical needs that would require the help usually provided by nursing home staff. Like eating, using the bathroom, or being transferred in and out of bed. And the DOJ explaining the fact that adults with mental health disabilities and nursing facilities in Missouri tend to have relatively low need for nursing care highlights why nursing facilities are not appropriate for these individuals. Saying beyond that, Missouri also places a higher percentage of adults with bipolar disorder or schizophrenia in nursing facilities than almost any other state. And in some of the nursing homes, these patients make up 80% or even 90% of the entire resident population. And that matters for a number of reasons, starting with nursing homes usually don't have specialized care for those folks beyond just giving them medication. The DOJ also finding this is true for people with other mental disabilities who are being placed in these homes. When you take a step back and you look at these groups who have been put under the care of nursing homes, the federal report says almost none of the adults with mental health disabilities living in nursing facilities in Missouri need to be in these institutions, even for short-term stays. And it's not like these people feel like they're getting any sort of special benefits from these facilities that they can't get elsewhere. With the agency specifically stating almost uniformly, adults with mental health disabilities in Missouri's nursing facilities do not want to live in these institutions. Right? Nursing homes are incredibly restrictive, and the vast majority of adults with mental disabilities want to be integrated into the community and given more freedom, like through services like permanent supportive housing or comprehensive treatment programs that can provide them with a safety net of resources to live more independently. And that's something we saw these people and their family telling DOJ investigators. Like Angela, for example, a woman in her late 50s who was placed in a nursing home against her will, saying, "I have a dream that one day I will be free. Free to live on my own, free to live within my community, free to have overnight visits with my grandchildren, free to not be told who I can associate with, free to not have someone place me in a nursing home and leave me without any regard to my well-being mentally and physically, most of all, just free to live my life." But also, regardless of how you or I might feel about all this, it's literally just illegal under federal law, plain and simple, full stop. Because under the Americans with Disabilities Act, it's illegal for states to unnecessarily separate people with disabilities from the general population when they're able and willing to be served adequately by community-based services. And that separation, it amounts to discrimination against people with disabilities, and states are actually required to provide, quote, services, programs, and activities in the most integrated setting appropriate to the needs of qualified individuals with disabilities. And that last phrase is a key thing here, because the DOJ explicitly found that the vast majority of nursing facility residents with mental health disabilities are qualified and appropriate for community-based services. When a state doesn't have sufficient services to properly accommodate these populations, it is required to make reasonable changes to its policies and procedures. But that is exactly what Missouri has failed to do. Missouri does have programs that help adults with mental disabilities integrate into their communities. The state just doesn't want to expand them far enough. With the DOJ finding that thousands of adults with mental health disabilities are unnecessarily shut away in nursing homes because of deliberate policy choices made by the state. Because instead of setting up enough programs, services, and facilities that actually can cater to the needs of these people, Missouri just sticks them in nursing homes. And not only does the state lack proper resources for adults with disabilities, the whole system the state has created here literally incentivizes placing these groups in nursing homes that do not serve them. And they actually do this in a few different ways, right? First of all, the state recently implemented a points-based system that quite literally is intended to increase nursing facility eligibility for adults with mental health disabilities. And Missouri has even put in place actual financial incentives to ensure more people with mental health disabilities go to nursing homes. The state also recently updating its placement system so that nursing homes are actually paid an extra $5 per resident each day if 40% or more of the facility's residents who receive Medicaid have schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. A move that the DOJ estimates has resulted in nursing homes getting paid $222.8 million from Missouri Medicaid just in the last fiscal year alone. And beyond that, the state also lacks effective processes to screen out people who don't need to be in nursing homes or divert them to other care, or even proper systems to transition them from nursing homes to services that would better accommodate replace
under
them. But one of the
conditions like
biggest
that,
issues with the
or
overall system here is Missouri's procedures around guardianship, where
receive
someone is
disability.
appointed to make every decision for a person with mental disabilities.
kick
While
you off the
guardianship
program.
is only supposed to be used in the most extreme of situations, Missouri has heavily relied on this tool as a catch-all for people who are resisting treatments or who have been cycling in and out of psychiatric hospitals. In fact, 62% of the adults with mental health disabilities living in nursing facilities interviewed in the DOJ inquiry, they were under guardianships. And 80% of those people had a public administrator as their guardian, not a family member or a friend. And that's significant because many public administrators who serve as guardians have been placing these folks in nursing homes, with one provider even calling guardianship in Missouri a sentence to be locked in a nursing facility. And all of this, despite the DOJ finding that adults with mental health disabilities living in Missouri's nursing facilities generally do not need guardianships. And so by forcing people who don't need guardians into a guardianship, Missouri is actually violating its own state law. And just in general, there's a lot of really damning shit here, though as far as what happens next, technically Missouri will be required to work with the DOJ to fix the violations that the agency found. And then if they can't or they won't, the department can sue the state for compliance. But in the meantime, you have thousands of affected people that are just gonna still be in this situation. And then, if you're watching this video on a computer that is using Windows, get your computer updated right now. Scratch that. Don't fuck with my watch time. Finish the video and then update your computer right then. Because currently, there is a huge vulnerability on Windows PCs that let hackers get full access to your computer without you having to do anything. Which is horrifying because, normally hacks happen because people click links they shouldn't have or they open that sketchy email attachment. The CVE 2024-30078 vulnerability, it just required a public Wi-Fi network. Or so pretty much what any business or public space would use. So places like coffee shops, airports, wherever. And I'm going to spare you all the super technical details, but the main thing is that just being on the same public Wi-Fi as a hacker, it lets them send data packets to your PC. And from there, because of this vulnerability, they could run commands and gain access to the system. Now, to be clear here, like such easy to exploit security flaws like this, they're actually pretty rare, which is actually why we saw Microsoft classify this potential hack as important, which is the second highest level it can give a vulnerability. But the good news is that they've already rolled out a fix, and it actually rolled out last week. The problem, though, is unless you were in the super niche cybersecurity circles, you likely had no idea that this thing was happening. Also, it should be noted that the fix is only for currently supported versions of Windows, meaning 10 and 11. So if you're on 8 or 7 or God forbid fucking Vista, you're kind of screwed. I also want to stress with this, like you should always be careful on public Wi-Fi. It's just that this specific problem made you extra vulnerable. And then Disney is currently being accused of something absolutely unforgivable, forcing people to move to Florida for no reason. I love parts of Florida, but that is cruel and unusual punishment. Just the humidity there alone is weapons grade. But yeah, the forced moving to Florida for no reason, that's what a group of employees are currently claiming in a lawsuit. With all of this reportedly starting back in 2021 when Disney's then CEO Bob Chapek and the head of Parks and Experiences announced plans to relocate California-based employees to a newly planned $1 billion campus in the Lake Nona area of Orlando. Or with the company making these big plans because of tax credits in Florida. But as the LA Times noted, asking people to uproot their lives to the other side of the country isn't an easy ask. So it caused a lot of tension at the company. But then, come 2023, Disney just cancels its plans for the Lake Nona office for a number of reasons. Disney had big legal battles in the state amid feuds with Florida man Ron DeSantis. You also had a leadership change of the company when Bob Iger came back into power as CEO. And so with this, you might think, hey, well, big win for those California employees who didn't want to move to Florida, right? Well, no, because even if they had feelings about it, some of them had already made the big move or left their jobs, which is now why we have this new class action lawsuit, which was filed by two employees, Maria de la Cruz and George Fong, and both claiming they were fraudulently induced to move from the company's California offices to the new Florida development, and further alleging that communications from Disney made it clear that employees who declined relocation would lose their jobs, and adding in total, Disney informed approximately 2,000 employees that their roles would transfer from the company's California offices to Florida. And yeah, like I said earlier, not everyone went with it. Some submitted their job resignations because they believed that they were about to be terminated and the job market was already looking pretty bleak, but many, they made that choice to move, even though it meant leaving behind family and communities because it meant job security. They were all being promised a shiny new office that would make their jobs and careers more effective, which is why you have the lawsuit saying in sum, employees were incentivized to move through a combination of reward and punishment. And specifically for De La Cruz and Fong, they sold their houses
Corporate
in
America.
SoCal, Fong alleging that selling his home
It's
was
not a bug,
especially
it's a
painful
feature
because
of
it was a
corporate
family home that
America.
he grew up in. And they did this how they did this because they claimed that there was a timeline they were expected to follow. And because they followed it, they were already in Florida when Disney said that it was canceling its new office plans, which of course just created a lot of confusion and chaos, right? Some allegedly fearing that their job security gone, especially if they didn't then pack up and move back to California. It also created financial problems because according to the suit, after Disney's office was scrapped, Orlando home prices fell, but then this was happening as the Los Angeles housing market was booming, something that people have dubbed the Philip DeFranco investment strategy. Buy high, sell low. Now with this, you had outlets like the LA Times noting that yes, at the time, Disney did note that its decision would impact those who already moved, and saying they planned on discussing potential moves back to California with them. But the employees alleged that the compensation packages offered, they weren't sufficient. But yeah, ultimately, that's where we are here, and according to Deadline, I mean, this suit could end up including over 250 Disney staffers. And as far as Disney, they have yet to comment on the suit, but they have affirmed other commitments to park expansions in Florida. And then, y'all, it is that time of year again. Travel, water destinations, tropical destinations, or just plain old staycations. And what do you need for any of these? Sunscreen. Please, God, wear your sunscreen this summer. But also a great pair of shoes that can handle any type of weather. And basically, thanks to the fantastic and longtime partner of the PDS, Vessi, the weather doesn't need to control what you do. You know, personally, I'm loving my Vessi Stormburst low tops at the moment. Easy to slip in and out of. Or sneakers that provide me freedom to do just about anything at all, no matter the element. And they look great, so I can keep wearing them while I take my beautiful wife out to dinner without judgment. And reliable is the word that comes to mind when I think of Vessi. You know, they're ideal for any occasion, especially if you might find yourself around water, coastal walks, exploring outside the city, forests, camping. Ask, what do you take a minute?
Can't
like
afford
pretty
those
much
shoes,
everything,
Phil.
Vessi, and it's not just the sneakers. But yeah, that's Vessi.com/DeFranco.
shoes.
And then in this country, we spend a lot of time talking about reproductive rights and reproductive health, and you know, it's for good reason. You know, a lot has been happening since 2022 when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, ending the constitutional right to abortion, with women's rights advocates warning that limiting abortion access wouldn't only be an assault on their freedoms, but a threat to their health and economic security, with now 21 states banning abortion or restricting the procedure earlier in pregnancy than the standard set by Roe v. Wade. And the anti-abortion movement's now setting new sights on new targets, like wanted pregnancies achieved through IVF and contraception. But with all this, there's something that I want to talk about that's going to seem completely unrelated, but it isn't. I'm talking about climate change. Because with that, there's this stunning series of articles from the Grist, Vox, and the 19th. And they show many of the ways that climate change can have a huge physical toll on bodies that can bear children, right? Impacting women from menstruation to conception to birth. Meaning that actually, in a way, failing to act on climate change is just another way of failing to protect women's health. And of course, because climate change is global, we're talking about women everywhere, not just in the States. So to that point, let's start with Bangladesh, right? We all know that sea levels are rising. And in Bangladesh, it's perhaps worse than anywhere. Millions have been internally displaced by flooding. 860,000 people are now living in areas that could be under the high tide line by the end of this century. But already, sea level rise has pushed saltwater more than 62 miles inland. And the type of water there is key. Salt water. Right along with a shortened rain season due to climate change, this intrusion of salt water into the freshwater drinking supply is forcing them to pull more fresh water from groundwater aquifers. And studies have shown that consuming this saltier water has negative, long-lasting effects on nearly every stage of a woman's reproductive cycle. In 2008, for example, Anira Khan, she's a researcher at Imperial College London, she visited Bangladesh. And there, she met a gynecologist who told her that an unusually high number of pregnant women were coming to him with gestational hypertension and preeclampsia, which are both conditions largely defined by a woman having high blood pressure late in her.
So while right-wingers are running around screaming about declining birth rates, they, along with their corporate cronies, their capitalist cult, are creating the situation that's harming the birth rates by ignoring and contributing to climate change. Awesome.
Her pregnancy. And importantly,
Typical.
patients with either condition have a higher risk of things like a preterm delivery or miscarriage, as well as low birth weights, which are linked to poor development, cognitive impairment, cerebral palsy, and psychological disorders. And so Khan conducted a survey. She found that more than 20% of the women living in coastal zones in Bangladesh had been diagnosed with high blood pressure, compared to less than 3% of women living in some inland areas. But they're also eventually discovering that women living on the coast, they were getting as much as 3 times their recommended daily serving of salt per day from drinking water alone during part of the year. And notably, consumption wasn't the only way that salt water was endangering women's health, with one of the examples provided being using salt water to wash cloth menstrual pads. That ended up making the cloth hard, which caused scratching that made the women vulnerable to infection. Additionally, women working in shrimp aquaculture spent long hours standing in salt water, with that possibly leading to chronic uterine infections and even uterine cancer. And while that may be very specific to Bangladesh, saltwater intrusion is not. It also threatens to infiltrate freshwater drinking supplies in countries like Egypt, Italy, Vietnam, and the United States. I mean, roughly 40% of the world's population lives within 60 miles of a coast, and 501 cities around the world are already.
And before you go. Not America. I ain't gonna happen around my parts. Just remember, you live in a country being run by people who groom you to think regulations are harmful instead of the other way around. And that's how you end up here. Can you go potty? I'm not gonna go make you a steak or whatever you're begging for.
already reporting a saltwater intrusion crisis of some degree, more than a fifth of them being home to more than 1 million people each. I mean, one study, for example, actually claims that saltwater intrusion has become one of the main threats to the safety of freshwater supply in coastal zones. And actually, last year we saw seawater make its way into intake stations in Louisiana, meaning that more than 9,000 residents couldn't drink tap water from their taps. And though that got fixed there, experts are still warning that saltwater poses a long-term threat to that part of the state. With in fact, Chris Russinello, a professor of geological sciences at the University of Rhode Island, saying, saltwater intrusion is an issue along most of the coastline in America. California, Louisiana, New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island being some of the states that are already confronting intrusion. With that, another impact of climate change that we're also dealing with in the U.S. is extreme heat. In fact, the U.S. is the country where the impact of heat on maternal health has been the most extensively documented. And it began with Rupa Basu, a researcher at the California Environmental Protection Agency, because Rupa conducted the world's first large-scale epidemiological study looking at the link between temperature and preterm birth. And specifically, she analyzed 60,000 summertime births that happened in California from 1999 to 2006, with her finding higher rates of preterm births during higher temperatures. And while it's not yet clear exactly what the mechanism is, in the 14 years since Basu's paper, dozens of studies have confirmed that higher temperatures and heat waves are linked to preterm birth and even stillbirth. In fact, scientists have found an association between heat exposure and preterm birth rates in every developed nation and in the few developing nations where studies have been conducted. Like in India, for example, a study conducted among outdoor workers found that exposure to heat stress above 81 degrees doubled the risk of miscarriage. Also, research in Ghana published last year found that exposure to temperatures above 87 degrees resulted in an 18% increased risk of stillbirth. And notably, as temperatures rise, so does drought and air pollution, which also increases the risk
I have
of
to
preterm
pollute
birth or low birth
because
weight
if you
babies.
stop me
Similarly,
from
in some
polluting, I
places,
can't
extreme
innovate,
heat
even
events
though
will
I
also
don't
lead to more
innovate
wildfires,
anyway.
leading to even more air pollution that could cause even more preterm births. And so with that, we see how all these different factors coming together make things worse. Yet another example of that is something climate change researchers have been talking
Regulation
about for decades,
stifles
which is that a
innovation.
warmer planet
Okay, we
produces
did away with the
stronger and more destructive
regulations. What did they
hurricanes.
innovate?
With a study published last year, for
Nothing.
example, showing storms become twice as likely to develop from a weak tropical cyclone into a category 3, 4, or 5 hurricane within a single day. And actually, some climate scientists are suggesting we add a 6th category to the scale that we use to measure the power of hurricanes. So of course, it's not only worse, it's more. With researchers already predicting that the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season is going to be among the worst.
The only thing anyone's trying to innovate is electric vehicles, and they're doing everything in their damn power to stop that.
Ever. Which, to keep on topic here, fertility clinics are just as vulnerable to...
Right down to idiots making the same argument against electric vehicles that climate activists make against non-electric vehicles. I mean, it's so stupid. They will argue the environmental impact of the stuff that's in the electric vehicle, and it's like, well, you realize that, you know, what with petroleum and everything, it's the same environmental impact. But oh well.
Storms as any other infrastructure. And that's important because with IVF, everything has to go right. And specifically, there are 2 procedures that have to happen at a very...
Well, no, it's a different kind of environmental impact, because what with the petroleum engine or any of those engines, you've got emissions. With the electric vehicle, you don't have emissions. But it's just like the manufacturing part. And it's so dumb, because it's like, well, yeah, but there's an environmental impact to the other cars too. Oh, that's different.
Very precise moment. Right? There's the egg retrieval, which has to take place approximately 36 hours after the...
And they'll be like, well, do you want more pollution? So then you're like, hey, let's make the same argument for guns. No, my guns.
The last hormone injection of the egg will be lost. And then there's the embryo transfer, which, if you don't get right, sets back the whole process by at least a month. So, you know, even a traffic jam or a delayed flight, that can throw the whole timetable.
Gun
for a
violence?
growing number of prospective parents living in coastal areas, all it takes is a single storm. And when we look back to things like Hurricane Ida, which hit New Orleans in 2021, we know things like the Audubon Fertility Center by itself. They had to cancel at least 10 IVF cycles, delay the start of several others, all of which, of course, can be devastating for would-be parents. Which, I mean, you're already talking about an emotional and physical toll, but also it's a monetary one. IVF is incredibly costly. I mean, the average cost of a single IVF cycle in the U.S. is around $12,000. So some clinics, I mean, they charge as much as $30,000 per cycle. You know, many patients, they need more than one cycle to get pregnant. And all of this is made that much more notable because more than half of the fertility clinics in 13 states are at risk of hurricane damage based on data from the CDC and FEMA. With it even getting to a point where the American Society of Reproductive Medicine has actually highlighted the need for clinics to adapt to increasingly threatening hurricane seasons. But also part of the reason I mention all these different things, which obviously, you know, they are of different different levels of concern, is to highlight that the problems that we're facing and the solutions for them, they are complex and interconnected. Because even with as long-winded as I've been maybe to this point, in no way have we touched on the majority of dominoes. Right? Like another one is there's a link between climate change and the spread of malaria. Which, wouldn't you know it, another domino. Because domino. Or like another one is I've been maybe...
SM78? I'm going to look into that. This sounds really good. That sounds really good. I didn't know the SM. I have never paid attention to his mic until just now, and I feel dumb for that. It's an SM78, and it sounds really good.
To this point, in no way have we touched on the majority of dominoes. Or like another one is there's a link between climate change and the spread of malaria, which, wouldn't you know it, another domino, because it's 3 times more likely to develop into a severe case in pregnant women than non-pregnant women. And then so many of the issues and the solutions they have to do with addressing inequalities, making healthcare more affordable and accessible, just making people more aware of the risks that exist. It's just all a messy, messy web of interconnected things. I think it's why when one big thing starts spiraling, everything spirals with it. And then finally, today we've got an announcement, and I want to talk about yesterday. Starting with congratulations to this week's SeatGeek prize winner. That's $500 towards any tickets on 1,000 events.
Can't afford tickets to anything.
$500 newsletter, doubling with the fact that we did not have a shortage of comments about the mandatory naked sauna sessions. What a weird situation. Like, I feel uncomfortable texting someone that works for...
I just keep hoping that there's a language barrier on the naked sauna thing. And that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that there's a language barrier and we're misunderstanding what he's trying to say. Because I get the whole... well, if we're going to do a game about sauna, which that's weird in itself, but if we're going to do a game about saunas, I want you to actually get in saunas and understand the saunas and how they work and so we get it right, so that we don't have a bunch of gamers pointing out everything we got wrong about saunas. I get that. And I get the whole pointing out, well, do whatever you want, but then, pointing out that, I mean, the thing is see, the thing about towels and the towels getting wet, like, that is a real thing. It's like, seriously, that is like a real thing in some saunas where they're like, yeah, you don't really want to wear a towel because it's going to get like soaked with like super hot steamy water and it's going to be bad for you. I get that. That's a real thing. And then the whole accommodation. Well, I mean, I'll arrange female only what's it's. Okay, cool. And that's why I want to hope that there's a language barrier, something's getting lost in translation, and we're just misunderstanding something. Like I keep hoping that we're just so jaded as a society. We're expecting the worst out of this man when he's just giving honest sauna advice from the experience of someone who's really into saunas. Cause like, that's the thing. When I read his statements, that's what a lot of it sounds like and feels like. It's like he's trying to explain something completely innocent and it's just coming out wrong.
For me at 5:01 p.m. I cannot imagine what it is to have a brain that's like, yeah, mandatory nude sauna sessions together. But there y'all were saying things.
But he didn't say sauna. That's the thing, or naked sauna. He didn't. Everyone keeps. That's the thing that tripped me up on the story and made me. Because everyone keeps going mandatory nude saunas. No, that was never a thing. That's what he's being accused of. But that was never actually a thing. He never said mandatory nude saunas. That's something the audience made up. So, I mean... Because he said everyone has to experience the sauna. Everyone has to have sauna sessions. That was mandatory. But then later on, we'll dress however you want, but, the towels get soaking wet. And the thing is a lot of people will advise against it, but there's a lot of other things. You can wear swimming trunks in a sauna. You really can. It doesn't have to be nude. And I didn't see him mandate nude, but I did see him try to accommodate by saying female only. So that's why it's like, that's what makes me lean towards he's being misunderstood and misinterpreted, because so many other people are being reactionary and melodramatic and making up things that didn't actually happen.
Things like him calling them my narrative girls.
Now that does sound creepy, but once again, I hope he's just saying, I hope that's just the weird way it's being translated. My narrative girls, I hope that's a clumsy translation, because it could be. Because in his actual language, the sentence could be, well, the girls on the narrative team, and then it gets translated, my narrative girls. So
really does.
I mean, I'm not defending creeps. I'm just saying, good God, people, stop just assuming the worst every time. And that's what happens. It's this outrage culture. It's so much more fun to assume the worst and be outraged, because oftentimes the truth is really boring and disappointing.
Doesn't help him beat the creep allegations, with folks like Chaden replying, yeah, that made me feel violently uncomfortable, with some making Weinstein
I've had to deal with so many, because I've watched subtitled movies my whole life, so I understand. And I don't assume that's what he actually said, I guess, because of the translations. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, just watch the English subtitled version of Once Upon a Time in the West.
Comparisons. Meanwhile, you had others like Brad trying to offer a better option, saying, quote, hey, everybody, here's a voucher for a free sauna session. Please go enjoy it before next week's meeting so we can all have a similar point of reference when we discuss.
Yeah, but he never mandated that they were nude sessions. It's just weird.
It's the project. Seems much better that you all have to be naked with me this afternoon. And Shy Girl saying, I was just thinking that if he genuinely wanted it done for work, he could just send employees on their own. There is not a reason to force them to attend with him. No, my man was like, you're gonna be naked in the sauna and we're going to have direct eye contact. Uninterrupted. The first one that looks away has to give the other a massage. Also, we had Duff the Psych saying, I'm a psychologist and it's often required for people training to be a psychologist or a therapist to get their own therapy to understand what it's like firsthand. But we don't do therapy with our bosses. But yeah, I don't know what else could be said about this situation. I know that oftentimes I say, don't be stupid, but maybe it would be more appropriate to say, don't be creepy. Well, that is where today's show is gonna end. Thanks for watching. I love yo faces, and I'll see you on Monday.
Welcome back to the Breakfast Brief, the show where I make food and talk about the news. Today, MAGA podcaster Dave Rubin went on the Chris Cuomo podcast, and it did not go well for Dave Rubin. With that being said, let's get cracking.
Ooh, Luke.
Well, good morning, everybody. I hope
Luke. Talk to RJ City. If you're going to do a show called The Breakfast Brief, you should be cooking breakfast in your briefs.
we're doing absolutely fantastic. We are back from our adventure. We are going through the wild footage of my conversations with Trump supporters, and it should have something fascinating for you very soon from that Trump rally in Milwaukee. But speaking of Trump supporters, you have a guy by the name of Dave Rubin that we recently talked about, who does this sort of, no, I'm in the middle, I used to be on the left, I just happen to only push MAGA nonsense type grift that we see. But he is, again, supportive of Trump, so I put him in that category. But he went on Chris Cuomo's podcast. And Chris Cuomo's someone who also sometimes does this both sidey thing too much and doesn't, in my mind, lay down the stakes of this election clearly enough, and different criticisms
Yeah, I was
I've
gonna
had
say, your
for him
egg's
in the
getting
past.
warm,
But in this
Luke.
episode, he does a really good job of pushing back against Dave Rubin's dangerous lies, especially
should be in
on
your briefs.
COVID-related matters. So we'll go through some of
Doesn't
these
everyone
clips,
agree?
and I'll respond starting with this.
The breakfast brief, he should be in his briefs. I mean, they don't have to be tighty-whities. They can be colorful. You can show some riz.
What if you
Riz
could
is,
upload
I
one
encourage
mini AI-written ebook
riz.
onto Amazon that could replace your income and change your...
Because he didn't have the vaccine. He made it. I'm not taking away his credit, but I'm saying...
Well, I don't think he deserves credit for it. I think the vaccine was not a vaccine.
I'm curious. Let's do something. Which one? It's one of these. Do we want ChatGPT or do we want Araya? Which one do we want? How about ChatGPT? How can I help today? Let's see if this works. Certainly. Here's an argument from one of my... Dave Rubin has been criticized for promoting views that are often seen as... Here we go. Here's an argument for why one might choose not to listen to Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin has been criticized for promoting views that are often seen as simplistic or lacking in nuance. That is 100% accurate. He tends to provide a platform for guests who may not always represent a balanced spectrum of opinions, true, which can skew the discourse towards a particular ideological leaning, true. This approach can sometimes reinforce echo chambers rather than fostering genuine debate and understanding, true. Moreover, Rubin has been known to engage in what some perceive as intellectual grifting, where he adapts his positions and rhetoric depending on his audience or financial incentives. This can call into question the sincerity and reliability of his arguments, as they may not always be rooted in consistent principles or deep analysis. This is true. ChatGPT is saying politely what I would have just said bluntly. Critics argue that Rubin's commentary can lack depth and critical scrutiny, often relying on surface-level talking points or overly simplified explanations of complex issues. This could potentially misinform or oversimplify important topics that require careful consideration and expertise. What ChatGPT right there is, if you were going to say was specifically referencing something, which I feel like it might be, I think what it's referencing is, well, at least one occasion, he appeared on Joe Rogan and he tried to make the regulations stifle innovation argument. And he literally said, we'd be better off. Well, no, I'm not going to say literally because I'm paraphrasing. But we'd be better off without regulations because companies would be financially incentivized to do everything the right way. Because people wouldn't want to do business with someone who does stuff the wrong way. And Joe Rogan had to point out, no, my father worked in construction all of his life. That's not how it works. And then he had to explain the reason our regulations exist is because at some point in time, some company or some person did something unscrupulous and it caused harm. Therefore, we had to come up with a regulation to stop that harm from happening again. Sometimes with it being buildings collapsing, sometimes it being giving all your children cancer with your asbestos. So, additionally, some observers have noted instances where Rubin has spread misinformation or conspiracy theories, which undermines his credibility as a commentator, raises concerns about the reliability of the information he presents. He has. He doubled down on everything Alex Jones said. Like, he actually did false flag shit and everything. And he's also repeated the lie that the people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th were really Antifa and FBI. And then when said, okay, then how come you're all going to the prison and visiting with Antifa and the FBI and trying to get Antifa and the FBI released? And then he turns around and repeats that same stupid lie that people like Marge the Goon keep repeating, where they're like, oh, well, those are people who were tricked by Antifa and the FBI into storming the Capitol. And it's like, okay, so if Antifa walked up to you and said, hey, go rob that bank, you'd go rob that bank? I mean, God, right-wingers are not capable of thought. In conclusion, while Dave Rubin may have a platform and an audience, his approach to comms... Oh, I added a word that didn't exist. In conclusion, while Dave Rubin may have a platform and audience, his approach to commentary and analysis has drawn criticism for its lack of depth, potential for misinformation, and tendency to reinforce ideological biases rather than encourage open dialogue and informed discussion. Therefore, individuals seeking well-rounded perspectives and reliable information may find it prudent to approach his commentary with caution or seek alternative sources for a more balanced understanding of issues. Well, I am Mickey Fix, and I support this message.
And, well, not I think. The vaccine was not a vaccine.
Well,
the vaccine did not work. Fauci is on right now.
I did not pre-watch this. I promise you, I did not pre-watch this. I did not know I was going to hit play and have Dave Rubin give an example of everything I just read, especially the bit about the fake bullshit.
It works. It works. It works. It's why the hospitalizations
it did exactly
came
what it was
down.
supposed to do. That's, he doesn't understand. The average right winger doesn't understand the, like, what vaccines actually are, how they actually work. Did everything just shake? But yeah, they don't understand vaccines, immunity. They don't understand the terms. They don't understand. They didn't pay attention in science. And what it is Republicans just like saying shit. And then one person just says some shit and they all start repeating it. And 9 times out of 10, if you want a Republican to say to repeat something, instead of saying it intelligently, make it sound like you're being smart ass and clever and edgy. And seriously, they like repeating edgy shit. They'd rather sound clever than to sound smart.
That's why the healthcare system.
I know everyone says that, but I don't think there's really any evidence of that.
Yeah.
See, and there you go. They just like saying shit. I know everyone says that, but I just don't think there's any evidence of it. That's how they work. That's how their brains work. I just don't. Yeah, I'm just going to disregard all the facts. I'm just going to disregard all the facts and say you're wrong.
Yeah, of course there
I'm
is.
not vaxxed. They're not vaxxed. None of my crew is vaxxed.
You
we all
are
got
not
COVID.
the people who should have been made to be vaxxed.
Well, first off,
Exactly.
but they were forcing everybody to
That
be vaxxed.
is going to be something that needs to be reviewed and scrutinized.
Yeah. But there was a reason for that. And no, it doesn't have to be reviewed or scrutinized. It doesn't. Because once again, it's common sense. And here, I'll explain it. It's so easy to explain. It's so easy to explain. Everybody within the sound of my voice, do you have something in your house? Smoke alarm, fire alarm, carbon monoxide alarm, CO2 alarm, a fire extinguisher of some sort? Yes. Yes, you all do. Every single one of you. Why? Is your house on fire right now? Is your house on fire right now? Huh? My house isn't burning. Why do I have to get a fire alarm or a smoke alarm or a fire extinguisher? Why my house isn't on fire? Why do I have to pay taxes to the fire department? Oh. Preventative measures? Preparedness? We needed everybody to get vaccinated for the same fucking reason that your house isn't just built with some fucking boards thrown together. Like, I don't know all the proper terminology, but during the building of the frame of the house, they don't just put up just a shitty little frame and then throw stuff on it. No. Things get reinforced. Joints get reinforced. The main support beams get reinforced. All these different, I don't know what buttresses, I don't even know if that's a correct term, but you know, all these little extra things that reinforce the corners and the angles and the joints and the joinings and the seams and the supports, all of this stuff, it's reinforced. Same thing with getting everybody vaccinated. Same fucking thing. Same fucking concept. And why did we do it? I'll tell you why we did it. Because this world has been through the plague. It's been through fucking tuberculosis and malaria. It's been through fucking measles outbreaks, whooping cough outbreaks, chickenpox outbreaks, Spanish flu. We've been through all this thing, and we've seen the damage. We've seen the direct damage and the collateral damage. And that's the thing. There's also collateral damage, because when a lot of people in the service industry die, the service industry suffers. When a lot of your first responders die, you start running low on first responders, you morons. So you try to mitigate this damage. But no. All you crybaby sissies can think about is your fucking selves. And you're not even thinking of yourself as just being a spoiled little contrarian. I don't want to. I guarantee you, all you bitches were the bitches that made every freaking test, every presentation, everything in every class a slog to get through, because your spoiled little ass didn't think that you should have to do anything everyone else was doing. And it just wasn't fair.
Scrutinized, and I believe ultimately found to have been wrong.
Yeah, so sort of a
No.
little something at the end there, but the core of what Chris Cuomo is saying to Dave Rubin's just ridiculousness. And the laziest argument, I don't think there's any evidence that the vaccines work. Yeah, except for the studies that have shown millions of lives were saved by the COVID-19 pandemic. And what's annoying is we have a lot of dishonesty in politics. Obviously, that's a daily occurrence, things we have to address. But it really bothers me when people are so brazenly dishonest about a subject that is so consequential, and it's offensive to me that people would push carelessly.
I like that he uses the same kind of cooking sprays I do.
This type of topic, the vaccines, COVID-19,
less aerosolized,
and
just
public health
pressurized
matters.
oil. I love it.
It seems like Dave Rubin, for him to say what he said, hasn't actually taken the time to even look into what the design talking points are that he's espousing, because he just sort of goes, I don't think that is. And so quickly Chris Cuomo can slap that down because it's such a weak argument. But how dare you not even take the time to really inform yourself if you're going to be talking about something that is a matter of life and death, literally. Because people don't take the time, or they're willing to look past the data because it serves their political interest.
What game should I play?
Sick stuff. Next clip.
Because I need to play a game at some point.
Yeah, but Fauci should be in jail. Do you
For what?
For
What's
They just say shit. They're just repeating that because he heard the other cool kids say it, so he has to say it too. Like I said, that's all it is. Fauci should be in jail. And here's the thing. Here's the thing that makes it extra dumb. Like extra dumb. Why? Why do they keep saying Fauci should be in jail? Because Trump said it. So now they all have to repeat it. It's the rules because they are his property. And that's something that should be used on every Republican you talk to, every opportunity you get. You should point out, hey, your property. Somebody owns you like a footstool. Somebody owns you and wears you like a shoe, and you willingly submit to being that person's property. And that's one they can't argue out of. Anything he says, anything he does. All hell Trump. I have somehow, some way, somebody gonna turn around and make you cry. Till then, baby, or gonna turn around, make you smile. I'm depressing. Till then, baby, something gonna make you cry. Don't you know? Things could go your way if you hold on for one more day. Hold on for one more day. Things could go your way. Hold on for one more day. Oh my God. I found a plug that works in my phone. My goodness. They must stay together from here on out. Okay.
What's the crime?
Well, we can do a whole bunch of things.
Just one.
We'd have to decide what the crime is at the end. Let me just go through a few of the things that he did. Then
We have to decide what the crime is at the end. That's not how it works. That's not how. We have to decide what the crime is at the end. I mean, that's the right. We're gonna wait and make up a crime at the end.
we can figure out what the technical term for the crime is. So just in the last few days, he's admitted that 6 feet social distancing was largely made up. He completely admitted it.
No, he didn't.
Now. Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
What did he say?
We'll do it point by point.
Yeah.
What he said was, I don't know where it came from. I don't know why they said
He's the head of the NIH.
The rule was from the CDC. Bob Redfield, who is
Yeah.
the head of the CDC, says to me and to anyone who asks him, Tony had nothing to do with 6 feet. It was us. We gave it to him as the parameter.
Yeah. It was mitigation.
Yeah, this is
and it was
is a
about
doozy.
mitigation.
You know the phrase
Because
is that you can't win for trying? I know there's one that's you can't win for losing, but I think you can't win for trying. Fauci tried in these hearings to be transparent and to admit, I don't really know where the 6 feet specific figure came from, but that's what we started.
But it was about
saying
mitigation.
was the recommendation. But
It was honestly, once again, it's just about mitigation because we didn't know anything about the virus at that point, and we didn't know the specifics on how it's transmitted. So because of that, because we had no idea on like specifically how is it transmitted, how is it caught, how contagious is it, you know, you go through and you think of, well, what is everything I can possibly do to minimize and mitigate the impact of this? And one of those things is, well, if it's transmitted through people coughing on each other, if that's one of the ways you can transmit it and or contract it, then what can we do to minimize and mitigate that? Okay, we'll have everyone wear masks and try to distance themselves from one another. Is it going to stop it? No, but you know, I mean, do your windshield wipers stop rain from getting on your windshield? No, they mitigate and minimize the amount that the rain that does hit your windshield obscures your vision. Does this cure my bad eyesight? No, it mitigates and minimizes the effects of my bad eyesight.
But people act like that's a slam dunk. Obviously, there's not a magic
The impact
element to 6 feet exactly. You're at 5 feet 11 inches. Nope. But then 6 feet, boom, all of a sudden you're safe. It's just that understanding how the virus worked, all right, around 6 feet, I guess, you're safer than if you were at 1 foot, right?
Exactly.
Maybe even safer if you're 10, 20, 30.
Exactly.
But then they act like because it's not a black or white thing, similar to masking.
I mean, if you just stay the fuck away from each other, that's perfect.
Putting on a mask doesn't make it impossible for you to get the virus, but it could make it less likely. They'll act like that means these recommendations didn't matter or
Right.
weren't legitimate. And that's just...
Does your seatbelt save you in a car wreck? No, but it's better than nothing at all.
Monday and Tuesday about where Fox News host and former judge Jeanine Pirro says so we're going to see Fox host Jeanine Pirro talking about this. Then the clip will go to CNN discussing the exact same video and the fact that Joe Biden is obviously just talking to people.
There he is. Where's he going?
Look at look at the right part of the thing. There are three guys standing to the right when they fan the thing out there.
Right, so
Really?
he's the only one wandering.
Look at that guy right there. Look at the guy.
Okay,
I'm not gonna.
It was a pretty misleading video because what you're seeing here on the left is the New York Post edit, that version. That's all people could see. It zoomed in. It was claiming that Biden appears to be wandering off. But when you actually zoom out, like you do here on the right, you can see the full picture from the unedited source pool cameras, where very clearly he was talking to skydivers who were just out of frame as he was standing next to all the world leaders. You can see them there at the bottom. And I mean, so that one was very obviously misleading.
Yeah, and that one was deceptively edited, right, to show Biden and make it appear again as if he's just wandering,
staring off into the distance.
Deceptively edited? No, it was just bald-faced lie. What it is, they went out of their way to fabricate a lie, and now they're going out of their way to keep spreading and repeating that lie, no matter how. And that's the thing, it shows their devotion to the lie. It shows that they are property. I mean, yes, ladies and gentlemen, here in 2024, we have human beings being owned as property, and they are doing it willingly to the point of embarrassing themselves and their family and ruining their family name and legacy. For years to come, people are going to make fun of these people's children when people find out, oh, your mom was Jeanine Pirro. You mean that dumbass drunk on Fox News who kept repeating that bullshit about that video?
Has no idea what he's doing. But that is literally what you hear in right-wing media.
They are doing everything they can to misinform and to take attention away from the fact that while there are no Biden whistleblowers about what's going on with Biden cognitively, remember that this is a key thing. There are no Biden whistleblowers who are spending time with him. Cowardly nature of what a Trump-endorsed MAGA Republican just did to what was going to be an interview. Let me explain to you what just happened. I think people will find this interesting. I was scheduled today, minutes ago, to interview Pastor Mark Burns. Pastor Mark Burns is a Trump-endorsed candidate for the U.S. House seat previously held by Jeff Duncan, who's retiring, in South Carolina's 3rd District. And we were scheduled to do an interview with him today, and we connected for that interview. And the interview was organized by the assistant or campaign secretary or whoever to Mark Burns. We connect, and there's some other guy sitting in the chair, but it was just like a can you hear me sort of thing. So I go, okay, they're just doing a tech check. This guy stands up, and then another guy pops up and sits down. And it's this guy that I'm putting up on the screen right now. And I assume this must be some other tech check. They must be, I don't know, they want to be really sure that the microphone works.
Is that the same dude that was on that other video? There's supposed to be this debate, and this MAGA chud just spits out, just spews this load of horseshit and virtue signaling, and then just walks off the stage and refuses to be questioned or countered or anything. He just spews all this bullshit and then runs away. And this looks like him.
And I'm just chatting with this guy. As you can see, he's wearing a Maradona t-shirt, and Maradona being an Argentinian soccer player and me being from Argentina, we sort of chat about Maradona. And we're just chatting, and I assume we're just waiting for Pastor Mark Burns to actually sit down to start the interview. And then all of a sudden, this guy goes, I'm going to be sitting in for the pastor today. And at this point, the first time he says it, I assume he's joking. But 1% of me thinks maybe this guy's not joking, and I should start recording this because I think that they're bailing on the interview. I think they're actually chickening out of this interview. And I was able to get 2 minutes. And this guy, who I guess is his communications director, insisted, you're not going to talk to the pastor. And then he goes into all sorts of conspiracy nonsense. They really thought that I was going to interview this guy instead of the candidate. So I'm going to play this for you. This is the most cowardly act I've ever seen.
It's probably going to be confusing
when we
too.
First connected,
sounds like
and
some
I could hear
low
people
IQ
in the background.
antics.
I heard someone yelling about Pac-Man show, and pretty clearly they were at that last minute saying, no, we're not going to let the pastor do it. So I'll talk to you in a moment about why they are right to be afraid and why it makes sense that they bailed. But check out, this is the 2 minutes I was able to get with this dude.
Dumb
and
kids
again,
on the
I started
playground lashing
recording
out because
haphazardly
they're
I was
mad
like,
about
damn,
being
this guy is
the
serious.
dumbest
They're
kids on the
actually
playground.
bailing on this interview at the last second. Take a listen to this.
Communications director, I'm going to be taking care of the interview.
Oh, you're being serious?
Yes.
I think what it is like, because they tend to be religious folks, so they're all egotistical because they're like, we're God's chosen. But then when they run into someone who they see as being, like in religious sense, the enemy, the atheist, the agnostic, the one who doesn't pray the way I pray and worship who I worship and da-da-da-da-da-da, like they see that person is so much better off, and in their mind, this person is far superior. And so they get mad. They get all filled with anger and rage, and then they lash out at everybody around them, because it's like that comic strip from The Preacher where it's like, you all, you're supposed to be the ones, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with all you? You're the ones supposed to be representing the master race, but fucking look at you. Look at yourselves. And dude's like, what? And Preacher goes, where the fuck is your chin? I guarantee you, because just like Jason Miller, everybody made fun of Jason Miller and his lack of chin. Everybody kept making that preacher joke at the MAGA chud Jason Miller. So Jason Miller tried to grow out facial hair to hide it, and then everybody kept making fun of Donald Trump Jr. for being a chinless pussy. So he turned around and grew out a beard to try to cover it up. They're so insecure. They try to act like our jokes don't faze them, but they do. So I guarantee you, if you shaved this dude, it'd be the same thing.
Oh no, then we.
And the thing is, and it's like, it's not even like, it's not even actually body shaming. Like what it is just like, you call yourself the alpha, you call yourself the superior, you call yourself the master race, but fucking look at you.
We can't do it. No, we were scheduled.
Okay.
It's because they attack everybody else. They're like, oh, look, like I guarantee you this guy's in that camp that tries to go, oh, look at those obese liberals and stuff. And then like, look at him.
Our research and everything,
Trying
we
to
were
make fun
scheduled
of
to do it
purple
with the
hair.
pastor.
And it's like, look at you.
I'm sorry about that.
When was this decision made?
A few minutes ago.
Oh, is that what I heard something about Pac-Man in the background when we connected. Was it literally 2 minutes, like right 2 minutes ago?
It was a recent decision. Yes.
Okay. And what happened?
I advised him that I would go ahead and take care of the interview. And he's got some other stuff he's got to take care of. There's an election in 4 days? And he's very busy.
Do you know why it got scheduled in the first place if he couldn't do it?
Well, look, you can talk to his communications director. I worked with him on his last campaign. I know the pastor very well.
It is so cowardly. I mean, and that's the thing. That's how dumb the average right-winger is. It's like, he doesn't realize this is pussy ass bitch small dick antics. He doesn't realize this is why people laugh at you, make fun of you. because you guys cower from everything. You run from it. Cancel culture, but you're afraid of everything. This is crybaby shit. This is sissy shit. My God.
I'm just trying to understand. That's why I was asking you if you knew what happened.
I just told you.
He's busy.
Well, he has an election in a couple days, and he's talking to voters inside the district.
Well, then why? And this is the thing. He's trying. See how he's acting? See the body language? Trying to be condescending. And it's like, no, dude, that's like small dick energy. That's bitch energy. Do you not realize, like, you're acting like a little prissy bitch right now? How do you not see that?
I mean, unfortunately, you guys just really wasted our time.
Well, I'm happy to sit here and answer all the questions you got, man.
You just got out alpha mailed by David Packman. Congrats. I need something to drink.
That's okay. We only talk to the candidates, but we'll let our audience know. Remind me what your name was?
I am the publisher of the Ashley Biden Diary. You guys might want to cover that over the next couple of months.
What?
The Ashley Biden Diary that's been proved to be 100% true and correct and legit in origin.
The diary was real. Ashley Biden herself pointed out the diary was real, but the shit they were saying that was in the diary was fake. This guy, oh my God, my toaster is smarter than this dumb motherfucker. Here's what happened. Just like every other MAGA coward, they're all a bunch of bitches and pussies. What happened was someone figured out who Pac-Man was. They were scared that the pastor wouldn't be able to hold his own in the interview. He wouldn't be able to handle it. He would end up looking stupid. So they got all scared like the cowards they are. Oh, we got to protect the precious, fragile pastor. So this guy, trying to look like stereotypical Bubba Redneck, thought he was going, I'll come in and I'll show David Pac-Man. And now here he is, sounding like the product of inbreeding, which he looks like the product of inbreeding. Let's face it.
My name is Noel Fritsch. Noel, N-O-E-L.
Frisch.
F-R-I-T-S-C-H.
All right. Well, I'm sorry we're not going to do it, but I wish you guys could have just told us no last night, you know?
You know what? It was a recent decision. We got to go talk to the voters. If you live in the 3rd district, I'm sure we'd be doing this right now.
No. Here's the thing. People from the 3rd district could watch the show, but you're denying them the chance to see the interview. You're denying people in the 3rd district the opportunity to see the pastor being interviewed. So what you're doing is instead you're doing this rally thing. Here's the thing. At a rally, any moron can stand on the stage and tell you the moon is made out of cheese, because they're too cowardly to put themselves in a position where they can be confronted or questioned about saying the moon is made out of cheese. So you stand on that stage, you can say the moon is made out of cheese, and you look like a big, brave boy. Well, I was a big, brave boy for going out there and saying that. No, you protected yourself. You hid behind people like this moron. He's going, well, I was a big, brave boy because I confronted David Pac-Man. No, you were a big, dumb boy. You're a big dumb boy. You had to throw yourself in front of the pastor, and then you say dumb shit, and just look at the body language. He's so like, roll down a window. This flower is wilting.
All right. Well, thanks, Noel. Appreciate it.
Cheers. God bless.
All right. So listen, I actually do believe the one thing that he said there that's true is that it was a recent decision. I think what happened here is,
if you shave your head, or if you're thinking about shaving your head, having the right tool is super important. I've tried every single traditional razor on the market. I've tried at least 2 dozen electric head shavers.
And we will put the email trail up on the screen for you.
Hello, my name is John Connery, about a possible in the program I produce. We are an internationally syndicated radio and television program currently airing on Free Speech TV via over 200 radio and television stations across the country and internationally. We also run a popular YouTube channel and podcast currently with more than 2 million subscribers, over 1.5 billion views. Dave's interview guests, including Dennis Prager, Mike Lindell, and Roger Stone, among others.
It's obviously clear that everybody knew we were planning to.
Hello, yes, he would be available on June 12th, 11th, or anything.
To interview the pastor and not this guy. I think that in the couple hours this morning before the interview, they looked at the fact that the last MAGA guy who showed up, Royce White, now is the subject of FEC investigations, and his discussion with me about spending money at strip clubs, campaign money at strip clubs, made The Daily Show and MSNBC and the Young Turks and all these other media outlets. I think they found it likely this was not an interview that was going to go well for the pastor, and they chickened out. I mean, truly a profile in cowardice like we've never seen. And I'll be honest, I was going to ask the guy real serious questions. Pastor Mark Burns has been pushing election lies about who won in 2020. I was going to ask him the really tough question. Is Biden the legitimate winner of 2020? He probably was going to tell lies, and it wasn't going to be to his advantage. Pastor Mark Burns, wants Christianity to be the law of the land. I was going to ask him, what new laws would you like to see that are based on your religious beliefs? I was going to talk to him about, the role that he believes the Bible should have in running government. We were going to talk about the outrageous things that he has said about so many different issues, that the members of the squad should be placed under arrest. His beliefs that the Bible is literally true, that the rapture will take place during our lifetime. And if he believes that, why even bother running for Congress? What does he mean? So this was going to be an interview where the guy would look like what he is, which is an uninformed guy who has no business being in elected office. But also, I kind of have to be honest with you guys. This guy's almost certainly going to be the next congressman from South Carolina's 3rd district, because it is a very red district, and he is probably going to win his run.
This is my dog Checkers. She's 21, and I owe it all to the farmer's dog. Checkers.
In a bombshell new report out in ABC News, a witness has told investigators for the House Ethics Committee that Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz paid her via Venmo for sex. Now, I should note that the woman was not identified by ABC News and that attended parties where the Florida congressman was also present and who were paid by Joel Greenberg, Gaetz's one-time close friend. Greenberg was sentenced in 2022 to 11 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to multiple charges, including sex trafficking a minor and introducing the minor to other adult men. Also in the article, in the interviews, which have previously not been reported, some witnesses have been shown Venmo payments they allegedly received from Gaetz and asked if those payments were for sexual activities, sources said. Some of the witnesses have been subpoenaed by the committee, while others have agreed to cooperate, according to the sources. And of course,
I believe
with
it.
Characteristic defiance, Gaetz has responded to this news by posting, "The House Ethics Committee has closed 4 probes into me, which emerged from lies intended solely to smear me. Instead of working with me to ban congressional stock trading, the Ethics Committee is now opening new..."
Nah, let's ban the stock trading and put you in jail.
Frivolous investigations. They are doing this to avoid the obvious fact that every investigation...
No, they're not ending in his exoneration. It's not. It's not ending in his exoneration. What it is his MAGA cronies are protecting him in these fucking committees.
...into me ends the same way. My exoneration. This is Soviet.
Yeah, when you get to investigate yourself, you get to find yourself innocent of any wrongdoing.
McCarthy showed them the man, and they are now trying to find the crime. I work for Northwest Floridians who won't be swayed by this nonsense, and McCarthy and his goons know it. Of course, the jab at Kevin McCarthy should come as no surprise, given McCarthy's comments about Gaetz regarding this very topic.
But you want Gaetz to lose. Clearly, you're supporting his primary opponent. Why do you want him out? Just because, is it simply because he led the charge to push you out?
No, I just don't think Gaetz is a conservative. I mean, and if you think about it, if there's anybody who should go to trial, I mean, Gaetz is one who should be convicted in a trial.
Why? Why do you say that?
Well, we all know the challenge here. You can't sleep with underage women and think you can get away with it.
He denies that.
Well, the women don't, and so there's people in jail because of it, and I think that's a place that people should have a court. I just don't think that as an individual should be represented in Congress.
You made a lot of concessions.
Yep.
In the negotiations.
No, I didn't. Okay.
Okay, is that
Let's get to the bottom of that.
Right?
That is such a misnomer in life. Let me give you the truth about that now. And I'll give you the truth why I'm not speaker. It's because one person, a member of Congress, wanted me to stop an ethics complaint because he slept with a 17-year-old. An ethics complaint that started before I ever became speaker, and that's illegal, and I'm not going to get in the middle. Did he do it or not? I don't know, but ethics is looking at it. There's other people in jail because of it, and he wanted me to influence.
Weird.
And you know what? So then they come out and they say, because I kept government open. I'd do it all over again. We're not going to pay our troops? No, I'm going to pay my troops. You can't do the job? Okay. When it comes to the concession, The motion to vacate about one person being able to make that motion, how long has that been in the rules? Forever. The only time it was changed is when Pelosi became Speaker the second time.
In fact, it wasn't just McCarthy.
Yeah.
Here is yet another Republican calling out Gates publicly.
Look, the House is a rough and rowdy place, but Mike Johnson is going to be just fine. I served 20 years in the military. It's my absolute honor to be in Congress, but I served with some real scumbags. Look, Matt Gaetz, he paid minors to have sex with him at drug parties. Bob Good endorsed my opponent, a known neo-Nazi. These people used to walk around with white hoods at night. Now they're walking around with white hoods in the daytime.
And look, I obviously can't predict
There
what the
you
House
go.
Ethics Committee is.
I made this triple guitar pick,
There
and
you
I thought,
go.
wow, that's pretty cool. But then I couldn't stop. So I turned it into 6 picks, a 10 pick, a 20 pick, a 30 pick, and then 100, and then 1,000. And you want to know why? Mental health issues. But also, I wanted to know, what's the perfect amount? Let's start with 0 guitar picks.
This would sound a lot better with 1 guitar pick. Wow, but does that mean that combining 2 picks is even better? This will be interesting. It sounds crazy clean whenever you have to play 2 strings next to each other versus a regular pick. It's because instead of dragging the strings, you can pluck them at the exact same time. It means it's highly specialized for playing one particular riff. Compare this. But besides this, a double guitar pick, it's kind of lame. So let's move on to the triple pick,
Okay.
also called a fork.
Triple pick, let's go. Ooh, that's kind of satisfying. Plucking all 3 strings at the same time. It's pretty cool.
But what happens if we space them apart more? I just made a cultural appropriation pick because whatever I touch sounds like flamenco guitar.
But it wasn't very good.
No one cares. But spacing them out even more would just be kind of silly. Like, there's no way there's any kind of use area for that. The first ever double neck guitar pick. When I pick this,
No.
I pick both of the necks at the same time.
Yeah, but then that one is.
This is too good. It's so powerful when this neck is added to it. It's like some kind of like
But now let's jump straight to 6 guitar picks.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
like you're strumming the guitar, but with no motion of your hand.
And that's
Don't
speciality.
like-
So for 10 guitar picks, let's attempt the longest continuous guitar strum. And here's the plan. The first pick strums all the strings, but as soon as it's done, the next pick in line is perfectly spaced to take over seamlessly. In engineering, there's a saying that if it works, it works. Yeah, this didn't work. But the second design
Damn it, it's too bouncy.
also didn't work.
We need to make something that it doesn't do this so much.
For the third design, we're taking inspiration from bridges because they have some of the most reliable and rigid designs ever.
Check this out. It's like the coolest violin bow. Are you
Okay.
ready for the longest guitar strum ever done on guitar? Let's go. We can play
But then
the
you can't
entire
come back
chord
up, though.
progression with one down strum. It never ends.
Don't like it.
Guess it has an inbuilt ad blocker and a free unlimited VP. I just made a computer fan when I think about it.
Now let's try it.
How can it sound so bad?
It's
Actually,
funny.
it's simple. If we 30x the picks, we also 30x the pick noise. Question is, how do we solve it?
Listen to this. And now compare this. The answer is thumbs, and we're going to need 30 of them.
No, wait, we could also see if my 3D printer can cook with something that is softer than this. That would probably be easier. I previously fed him this, but we're going to try to feed this. You see how soft it is? This should be fairly close to mimic the softness of a thumb.
Okay.
Sweetwater helps music makers make more music. How? Less time waiting.
Wait, if this is here, what's in my microwave? No! And after a lot more of trial and error, we got it. It's so soft. Okay, I really hope these soft guitar picks works better.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, because
That's
because we were hearing a lot of the plastic, the percussion from the plastic.
way better. Okay, let's go for the slowest I can physically do. The world record is 23 picks per second, and we just hit 30. I barely need to move my hand, but I'm still the fastest guitar player in the world. Faster? This is so fast. I can't hear the individual notes anymore. We have transcended the human ear. Now it was time to obliterate the world record, but it was really hard to keep the guitar in place. If there's a fire and I have to escape and someone sees me like this, attached to a guitar with a fishing rod, I don't know what to say. This should give us less movement of the guitar. Okay, I think this is way better. Yes, finally. Whew. That was the world record by far. I'm very happy with that. Let's move all the way up to 100 picks. The pick noise is like... The pick noise is like louder than the guitar. I actually surprised it's remotely playable. Like, that was kind of accurate almost. Some sweep picking. I mean deep cleaning. Someone said it's basically just a horse brush. I don't know what you mean. I see no similarity at all. But what is actually better? Horse brush versus the biblical guitar pick? Maybe this is the biblical version for horses.
I think that's better than the picks.
That's really good. I hate to say this, but horse brush wins. At least the pick can't fall inside the guitar like a regular pick. No, this will never happen. Oh shit, no! It broke my guitar. Let's move on to the finale of 1,000 guitar picks. I'm actually not sure how though, because holding 100 picks is wall art and then grind against it like a cow of guitar picks in the design. But after 1 week of moving something and then waiting 10 minutes for it to stop lagging, let me show you what I cooked up in my garage. The first pick out of 1,000. Let's go. As we learned earlier, soft guitar picks is going to be our only chance of this sounding remotely like an instrument.
Yeah.
The issue with that is that I need to print and glue them separately. And gluing one pick is fast, but fast multiplied by 1,000 is slow. But after 8 hours, it's addicting. I just want to touch it like it's a little kid. But yeah, based on the initial sounds, we're pretty fucked. It sounds horrible. So what should I do? A, try to make it sound good since this is after all a music channel, or B, put a motor on it. Whoa, this is amazing. Whoa. And now when we got all the essentials, let's find out, is 1,000 guitar picks actually better than just one?
If you're an older adult wanting to learn guitar, I have a question for you. What's the difference between a guitar beginner?
That's a lot of guitar picks.
This is cool. But it's an instrument. It needs to sound good too. And that's usually where I'm lacking. We will find out right now. If anyone wants to play along, I will put tabs on screen. Let's go. That's not even the fastest. This is the fastest.
Wow.
That's the
Wow.
fastest Mr. Lou you're ever going to hear in your entire life. I did some calculations and this is crazy. A string is getting picked 5,000 times per second. Are we playing all the strings at once? I guess in theory I could play a chord like this. Like in theory, everything works.
I don't
but
think
I'm not
I
sure
actually
that's a
hear
good thing
a
after
chord.
hearing what this sounds like. Let's spin it very slowly, okay?
Oh wow, it already
way
fucked up
better.
the string.
It has a good rhythm to it. If we increase the speed just a little bit, I
Look.
feel like that could be something. See how slow it spins, but it's still picking like... I will find something good with this. Just give me 5 years and I will figure it out. By the way, I will answer 1,000 comments on this video, so let me know your best video ideas so we don't end up like this again. Oh, that's the wrong direction. The thing is, with the thin strings, the picks doesn't seem to like grab as well, like with the friction, so we don't get any notes at all. Let's try Through the Fire and Flames.
All I hear is the... Okay, there's something, but I'm mostly hearing pick noise. But I still love it.
It was a dream to return to the world of Dune. Getting to see Denis bring his full vision.
Let other people into your life, you need to change something. But I think